1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome to Rock the Cash Bar. I'm Ben Mowbray.
And I'm Diane Gallagher.
Every week we pick one song and do a deep dive into the lyrics and explain the different ways they've been interpreted.
We will also discuss how the song connected to us on a personal level, focusing on all the embarrassing details.
Glad to have you here. Enjoy the show.
My phone has switched over to evil.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I got a notification, like it started beeping at me saying that I'd been hacked and I was being tracked. So I cleared all
your
of my
porn. Stop watching the porn immediately.
Exactly. Like, oh, I'm sure that's where it came from. We'll just elide that. So I immediately cleared the history and then shut the phone off for a couple of hours because I know how technology works. That's it. If it's off, then the virus can't spread. If there's no power into the circuits, then it's done. True fact. Write it down.
Okay.
That's what I did to solve it. But then I got home and I put on a documentary to watch while I fall asleep because that's what I do. Don't judge me, okay?
I dig
it. It helps me. But then the YouTube just kind of spun all night long while I slept, and when I woke up, it had cycled into Jordan Peterson documentaries and a whole bunch of like Candace Owens stuff, and now my YouTube is just straight up evil. It used to be documentaries about old English castles and hockey highlights from the 1980s, and now it's just let me tell you who the real racists are. Oh, this is how everybody goes crazy so quickly. I mean, just that fast. You click on one thing and the avalanche comes your way. And it's everything. It's not just the suggested videos for you. It's the ads that are in front of those videos that are even more crazy.
It's crazy how the internet now spoon feeds our brains. Oh, you like that? Let me take you down this dark hallway if you like that, And
the thing is, if somebody who believes in all the stuff that I'm seeing now was to look at my YouTube from a week ago, they'd be like, oh, this is how he got indoctrinated. This is the sludge that he's been putting into his head, and that's why he feels that way. I'm certainly not saying that the two sides are equal. I am saying if you don't think you're affected by the bubble that you're living in, you fucking are. You absolutely are. And nothing good happens on the internet, except for the cash bar. The cash bar is good.
Except for us. We're doing good stuff over here.
The cash bar is a little vacation from all of that shit. I'm sorry for bringing it up. I just wanted to point out that we're sitting in an internet slippery, slimy slope.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I remember when I worked in corporate America, they're like, if you get a virus, because all of our computers are connected, it's $1 billion worldwide company. And IT would tell us immediately undo your internet plug, boom, pull it, And yeah, I do that at home. I immediately throw off my Wi-Fi and then turn off my phone and just unplug everything real quick and just let it die for a second.
That just gives you peace of mind. I don't think that works at all. I think once it's actually there in your phone, in the circus, it's still going to be there when you turn it back on.
They say to prevent getting hacked and a lot of stuff, they say as much as you can, especially when you're out in public and stuff, don't use your Wi-Fi. Try to use Ethernet as much as you can, and it helps. But I mean, you saw what happened with my Instagram. If you're going to get fucking hacked, you're going to get hacked.
Don't be popular. Nobody's hacking my Instagram.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's your fault for being pretty and choosing to express yourself creatively.
Oh, yeah. I messed up. I'm back though. If anybody wants to refollow me, I'm going to be very specific on who I let follow me now, but it's the Diane Gallagher on Instagram. If you want to come back and be nosy on my life, and you'll know if I let you in.
I work with a guy he's a very big dude. He's covered in tattoos, and he really looks like he just walked off the set of Sons of Anarchy. If he showed up in a Banditos jacket, you'd be like, that tracks. That dude is definitely biker looking tough.
Yeah. I
went into work a couple of days ago, and he was yelling at me for not inviting him on for our Taylor Swift episode. I fucking love Tay-Tay Mowbray. Why the hell didn't you have me on?
Well, you're like, why would I ever know that? That's great.
So we're arguing. We may have to have a follow-up Tay-Tay episode. Or I'll have to find out like what other sensitive young woman this incredibly rough looking dude likes to listen
I'm
to.
gonna need a list, and then we'll pick the greatest one that matches the way he looks, and then we'll do that episode.
Deal. But today we're finally doing Pixies.
Yay!
I'm gonna be a super horrible geek about it. It's Pixies, not the Pixies.
Okay.
I've no doubt I'll accidentally say the Pixies a couple of times, but we know that it's just Pixies. Okay, settle down, music nerds. Here's what I didn't know. Part of the reason why I chose Pixies is because they're the best example of how dumb I can be.
Oh.
Like how poorly informed I am. I had no idea where the Pixies sat in time and where they sat in sort of the sphere of influence. Like when I was a young man, like really getting into music and learning what I liked in like 1993, 94, when I was 13 or 14, I thought that Pixies were sort of in the wake of Nirvana. I thought that they were a band that Nirvana had found, or that record execs had found, like as they were looking for, okay, who's going to be the next Nirvana? I thought they'd settled on Pixies. Because the first time I'd really heard of them was right around that period. They were opening for U2 on the Zoo TV tour in like 1992. So
Right.
I heard of them from there. I had a friend's older sister who was into the cool music of the early 90s. She had the first Green Day EP, like before Dookie came out, the one that sold it, like surprise sold a couple of $100,000 and set the world on fire for them. She had that. So
Cool.
she was real cool, but she was like into the Lemonheads and Pixies and that kind of stuff. So that's where like I thought that they were like brand new on the cusp in like 1991. They're not that much older, but they're just that couple of years and just that level of influence that I totally missed them entirely. Like the reverse is true. Pixies heavily influenced Nirvana, not the other way around. Learn it, dumb 12-year-old Ben.
Same. The Pixies were this band that I'm just going to say the Pixies. It's just going to happen. When I was in high school and I'm hanging out with, all of my new wave post-punk punk friends, and we're all like learning all these bands. I knew of the Pixies, and I'm like, I have to get there because the people who love them love them. And it's like I could never get to them. I could never like just get my hands on. They were a slippery little thing that just got out of my hands. And then, I did know that Nirvana loved them. I knew the Toadies loved them. I knew that they influenced all these bands. And it wasn't until like they came back around in the early 2000s. I remember at the Laugh Stop, when I first started doing comedy in the early 2000s at the Laugh Stop, they had this resurgence because Mungle talked about them all the time. He loved them, and he thought of himself as Frank Black. And that's when I finally had time to dive in. And it was such a like, oh my God, everybody was right. This is so good. Like, I get it.
Fantastic. Yeah, it wasn't until they got back together in 2004 that I learned their real history. And it was just like I've never been more embarrassed about a music fact in my life. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. I should never, they'll never let me into a Blockbuster music ever again. How am I going to show my face in Record Rec?
I loved the Breeders. I didn't know Kim Deal was in Pixies. Like there were so many.
So amazing about it. It's like a web of ignorance, because the Breeders, for me, for whatever reason, I didn't know about the Kim Deal connection between the Pixies and the Breeders. In my head, the Breeders are like a late 70s, early 80s band. Like I think of when I think of like Heart or the Go-Go's.
Oh my God.
No idea about their place in time at all. Like, nope, you're 10 years off on that one, man.
Yeah.
Madness. So I chose Wave of Mutilation for a couple of reasons. It's my favorite Pixies song. I love the album cut of it almost as much as I love the super popular UK surf version of it. It's kind of, apparently it's a deep cut, but I got it off of like LimeWire like 15 or 20 years ago. So I just assumed that it was everywhere. Like the more that I read about it, it's like, oh no, this is a deep cut fan favorite. I'm like, am I a deep cut Pixies fan? No, I am not.
Got it. It's so hard for me to pick my favorite Pixies song, but the one that comes up immediately is Gigantic. I just love singing that one.
It's got so many fun. Gigantic is so much fun. Here Comes Your Man is so much fun. Where Is My Mind is awesome. And again, here we go. I thought Where Is My Mind was written by the Pixies for the soundtrack to Fight Club. Like that song fits so perfectly in that movie and feels so right. Just like, okay, it had to be written for the
I feel like Where's My Mind is their quintessential song. I don't know. The beginning of my favorite Toady song, Tyler, is a straight guitar ripoff of Where's My Mind, of the beginning of Where's My Mind. I don't know. If I had to, it would either be Here Comes Your Man or Where's My Mind. It has to be the if someone says they don't know the Pixies and you play one of those songs, they're like, okay, well, I know that one,
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely comes to mind. I picked Wave of Mutilation for a couple of reasons. One, lyrically, it's going to be the shortest song we've ever done.
Yeah.
It is just in and out. I didn't realize how lyrically light it is.
Right.
First. It moves me as much as it does. But I also picked it because Wave of Mutilation reminds me a lot of you, because you were the first person to point out that I have a habit of making Irish goodbyes. I didn't know that was a thing that I did.
Me? I was the first one. You've been doing it your whole life since I've known you.
I think you were the first person to really call me out on it, and I didn't realize that I did it. Like I just always had it in my head, just like, if you feel like it's time to go, then it's time to go. Part of it is nervousness, and part of it was just like, okay, no, that drink was 1, 2, about right. Let's say it's about right.
We all talked about it after, like, where the first person to be like, where did Ben go? And it was probably Mungle or somebody's like, oh, you know what he does, he just ninjas out Irish goodbye. And I was just like, every fucking time he does not say goodbye to anybody.
Well, once I noticed that it was a behavior that I had, then I started trying to do it.
You landed real hard.
I was definitely working on it. And when I was trying to do it, when I was trying to get away unnoticed, I would play Wave of Mutilation in the car on the way home, because that felt like it's my quiet goodbye. I have slipped off into the night.
You're a Japanese businessman driving into the ocean.
Yes, I read that quote. The lyrics first and then get to that, because that's awesome. The lyrics to Wave of Mutilation are very, very short, and they're open-ended, and they're wonderful. Cease to resist, giving my goodbye. Drive my car into the ocean. Didn't think I did, but I said away. On a wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation. Cease to resist, giving my goodbye. Drive my car into the ocean. And if you've never heard the song before, like, it's just awesome the way that he's almost whispering it. Like Frank Black, obviously, Pixies are known for going quiet to loud. And Frank Black himself has just the loudest voice anybody has ever heard.
Yeah.
And I guess when they first started in recording studios, all the sound tech guys would just be like, I have never heard a voice that loud. Like, they got to set the mic levels different for Frank Black, because he's just on a different level when it comes to his voice. But in the first few lines of this one, he's being very quiet. It's cease to resist, giving my goodbye.
It's very dreamy dream pop, and they, and we'll read it later. There was a quote by one of the band members said this is the most un-Pixies like song they've ever done, but it grabs you so much. It's very dreamy and flowy.
It really does, but it's that UK surf mix that is the one that I love the most, because it enhances that dream thing so much. Like, it really does. You really do feel like you're driving your car into the ocean, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world.
So pleasant.
Yeah. You'll think I'm dead, but I sail away on a wave of mutilation, a wave, a wave, a wave. This song is so, like, the lyrics themselves, like, if you just read them flatly the way that I have, they sound so depressing and so awful.
Yes.
On a wave of mutilation, like, that's just terrible. But it's not. When you listen to the song, it's wonderful. Like, it's just
so happy.
Yes.
It's the most because, okay, if you think of the reality of driving your car into the ocean, you're gonna drown and die a horrible death. But he almost is like, you're thinking of this as an amphibious car, because he's like, no, I'm gonna go to all these places. Like, I'm gonna sail away in my car. Yeah, and we'll get to other lyrics, but the word mutilation is where it messes you up. You're like, but where's the mutilation part? What's going on?
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I thought about. It's like the car all of a sudden becomes a submarine. It's like you're Captain Nemo on the Nautilus. That's always what I've been being ever since I was a young man. I want to be Captain Nemo, for fuck's sake. I've kissed mermaids, would always think about, like, because like it's he drives his car into the ocean, and then the second verse is, I've kissed mermaids, rode the El Nino. So he just drove his car into the ocean, and now the car is a submarine. It's a boat. He's
Yeah.
out there with the mermaids, living the life that my English sailor's blood has always longed for.
It sounds
Walk the sand with the crustaceans. Could find my way to Mariana on a wave of mutilation, a wave of mutilation, a wave. It's just so peaceful. Could
I
find my
never
way to Mariana.
I never let myself like really pay attention to these lyrics that hard. And when he said Mariana, I was just thinking about a woman. And then when you look at it, you're like, no, the trench. Like I wasn't even thinking.
I didn't know that because I'd never heard of the Mariana Trench until it was strange. I was watching a documentary about, and I'd loved this song for a long time at this point. I was watching a documentary about Andy Kaufman, and they had an interview with Robin Williams, and they were asking him why did Andy go wrestling, even when it wasn't working for him, like even from an entertainment standpoint, like even when it was obviously like hurting his reputation, why did he keep going back to do this? And Robin Williams said, I think you've got a better chance of finding out what's at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah. And yeah, I love the way he doesn't explain what happened. He doesn't explain really how he feels about what happened. You don't know if I feel like you don't know if he's sad. He seems happy. He just talks about the journey, this beautiful journey of leaving land and all the people.
Yeah. I always thought of it as a weird, like kind of, this is going to sound depressing, and I don't mean it that way. I think of it as like as a funeral song, as a passing song. Like he's driving his car into the ocean. Not a lot of chance that you're going to survive that. But then in the second lyric, he's kissing mermaids, riding the El Nino, walking the sand with the crustaceans. Like it really becomes like this undersea adventure. It's almost like he's been let go, and now he's in an aquatic heaven.
Yeah, this is his version of heaven. The ocean has heavenly things waiting for him.
Exactly. Like that's the way it seems to me. That's like it's somebody who has committed suicide, but in a peaceful way. They're not doing it out of any kind of. It's just like it's just time to go, and then they end up in their happy place. They're literally swimming around with Ariel and who was the crab?
Oh,
the lobster.
I don't think I knew his name, or I don't remember it. The Under the Sea singer.
The Under the Sea singer.
That guy.
Nothing makes a person feel worse when the two hosts of a podcast can't remember something obvious.
No, I'm 44. I don't. If you put me on the spot and say, "What's your son's name?" I'm gonna be like, "Shh, give me a minute." Like, do not put me on the spot anymore. My brain can't. It freaks out. It goes into a panic attack.
I had that information for you at one time, and I'm sure my son is around here somewhere.
I mean, whatever his name is, yeah. Yeah, it's
I chose a song because it's just so delightful in that way. It's just like no matter how bad things get, your fantasies can come true. And there's always good on the other side of anything very, very negative. That's the way I always, every time I listen to that song,
I like the idea of it being a funeral song, like the message to the people who's crying is like, look, I'm happy. I'm doing my thing. Corbin always has these rules about his funeral, and they change all the time. I have to like keep them in a journal. Things that I have to promise to do if he dies before me. He wants to be buried in his Elvis jumpsuit, the Aloha from Honolulu jumpsuit. I have to play "Wake Me Up Before You Go" at his funeral. On his tombstone has to be the words, it could be worse. Things could be worse. I think he added a new one recently, and I don't remember what it is, but he's very strict about this. I just decided the other day, I want to be cremated, but if I had to have a tombstone, maybe you can just put it on my little urn. It just says "Later Haters."
Famous internet tombstone.
What?
It's just it says on the back of the tombstone, it says "Mom's chocolate chip cookie recipe," and then it's just a chocolate chip cookie recipe. And I guess the reason for it is because she always said she would give up her chocolate chip cookie recipe over her dead body.
That's great.
I'm going to be in charge of Rob Mungle's remains when he passes. That's how I've been bequeathed. But he wants to get cremated as well. But wherever his memorial is or wherever his funeral is, I have to have the urn, and I've got to be 20 minutes late.
Okay.
He goes, I want to be late to my own funeral. You have to make that happen for me.
Okay. All right, you can do that. That's an easy one.
He's like, I don't care who's crying or who's waiting. You make them wait longer.
Okay. Any weird places that he wants to be scattered?
No, he hasn't mentioned anything about that.
Okay. I don't know where I
I
want
have some ideas. I think we're going to have to like parcel him out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said not I don't want all my stuff, but I just want a little sprinkle on Numbers dance floor.
Oh.
It's been there forever, and I hope it's there forever. I mean, one day it's probably going to become a parking lot or a high rise like everything else in Houston, but I still want to be there. I want to sprinkle in Numbers, and that's all I can think of. Isn't that sad? Like oh, and then I had a joke that now Frank Caliendo, I don't think he stole it from me. He doesn't know me, but he took it and now has it on his Twitter. But I always had this joke about I want my ashes put into one of those hourglasses. That way you can flip me over and watch my time run out over and over again. I just think it's great. And then I was like, and then leave me around like when the family gets together and plays board games and you have a timer, like put me on the table as the timer, like keep me in the game. And anyway, I saw Frank Caliendo took it almost word for word because I had put it on my my TikTok, and then suddenly Frank had it on his TikTok doing expanded it into a whole joke. I'm like, motherfucker, that was mine.
It's a great joke. It's a great joke.
It's not that hard for anyone to think that either. Like, what do we do with these ashes? Well, it's perfect to put it in an hourglass.
Yeah, that's common directional thinking, but it's still a great joke. I mean, that's the thing about like the best jokes are always staring you right in the face.
Right.
You know? Like Saturday Night Live always seems to do it. I don't because they've got the best writers and they got a week to think about it, but they just keep center shooting the bullseye for all of the best jokes.
Right.
The Roe versus Wade thing a couple of weeks ago, they had such a great one because there was the leak, the Supreme Court leak, and everybody was complaining about it. The leak. Who was the leaker? This has never happened before in the history of the Supreme Court. The Colin Joe says. So you mean to say that the Supreme Court has been really cautious and careful all its life and then screwed up once and now has to deal with it for the rest of its life?
It's perfect.
It does seem a tad unfair. Yeah.
It does, doesn't it? That's great. That's perfect. Do you have any? Oh, sorry. I'm gonna let you get to Frank Black. We can't talk about Mungle and Corbin and me without saying, do you have any wishes for your dead body?
Not really. I want to return to the circle of life as quickly as possible. I don't want to be buried or cremated. What I want is illegal. I want to be unceremoniously tossed into the bushes. That's all I want.
Kick you into the weeds.
Just on a wheelbarrow, like I'm not like disrespectfully or anything like that. Like I'd like everybody who cares about me to still be there, but I would just like to be in a wheelbarrow and just
dunk.
Cut line of the tree.
My garden, you'd make good fertilizer. I'll grow tomatoes or something.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite vegetable? What's your favorite vegetable? We'll eat you.
Beets. Okay. I hate beets, but I'm that self-hating. I want to be fertilizer for your beet garden when I'm all said and done.
All right, let's get into Frank Black.
He is a quote machine. I've never read his quote about this song, but he just goes. Somebody asked him like, "Okay, what's really going on with that song?" And he goes, "Oh, it's about failed Japanese businessmen committing suicide with their families, driving their car off into the ocean." It's so much more upsetting than what I had.
You're like, oh, but okay, but it was so beautiful. But that's okay. That's what you're thinking of.
Also, such a weird racial stereotype that we in the West have. It's like, oh yeah, the Japanese will absolutely kill themselves rather than be dishonored. Like it's just a thing that they do all the time.
Well, what is that Japanese hanging forest where they go into the forest and hang themselves?
Yeah, you go to like some sushi restaurants. If they get the order wrong, then the waitress will hang herself right in front of you. Like it's you don't even have to ask for the manager, Karen. Like they'll just do it. Like,
oh God, you're allowed to kill them.
I said California roll. I am so sorry, sir.
Oh.
It's just what we do. But like it is here's the other thing. So the Pixies have this really outsized influence. Like if you influence Nirvana and Nirvana changed a whole decade of music and inspired all the bands that they did, then how do you stay grounded? Like, well, this guy does. Like, you read the Frank Black quotes because he gets asked about it all the damn time. You know, questions like, how do you feel about influencing Kurt Cobain, or do you feel like you guys should have had the size of the career that Nirvana did? You know, like it should have been you guys, you know, playing stadiums and that kind of stuff. And he's just like, he's so grounded about it. He's just like, look, you know, if I told you that I influenced him, and that obviously his music was greatly influenced by me, then I'm being a pompous asshole. But if I tell you that it didn't, then I'm being like a shy, retiring dickhead who's not acknowledging, who's not being grateful, you know, for having the influence that he did. So he's got a real balance that I didn't expect to find. You know, I thought, because I'd always heard, I don't know a whole lot about Frank Black, but I'd always heard that he was kind of an angry guy, and you know, he's one of those like hard to get along with Lou Reed types. Mm-hmm. So I figured that maybe he does have some real animosity towards Kurt and the Nirvana boys for basically stealing his template. Or bringing template to the fore.
I mean, if he does, we don't hear about that. Yeah, he seems, I don't know, he seems like someone I'd want to hang out with. For
sure.
Yeah.
And he also, I was reading about his history, like the Pixies start in Boston, which is kind of weird that I would like them, because I tend to disagree with all things Boston. But he's like, as they're playing their first club dates and writing their first songs and everything like that. Dinosaur Jr. is there. They're still called Dinosaur at the time, and Jay Mascis and Frank Black are friends, but Jay Mascis has been around a little bit longer and has a better reputation. I think even had a record deal, and was writing, like, it was a successful songwriter at that time. So Frank Black looked up to Jay Mascis and said that Jay Mascis, was so much cooler than me. It was working with Jay. He said something like, it was working with Jay Mascis that really made me realize that I had to find my own voice and my own thing and my own way of presenting a band so that I can be on the level that he is. It's just amazing to me to think of somebody like an artist as fully formed and as confident as Frank Black seems to be, having a period of his life where he's looking up to somebody else,
right?
In that sort of like fawning way that we all do. It's just like, oh, one of these days I'll be as good as you.
Yeah.
Work my balls off, maybe one day.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing that. I love hearing that. Mm-hmm. Have you started watching any of that new Pistols show?
No, I only heard about it last night. Somebody who was telling me about it. Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
It's great. Like when I just saw the clips, I was like, oh, they better not. I don't know. Sometimes when like a younger generation gets a hold of something like that, that's very important to me, and I'm like, you better do it right. And it's so far it's great. They're doing a really good job with it. Yeah.
Who's making it?
It's on FX.
Okay.
We're watching it on Hulu.
Uh-huh. But it's like director, some famous writer director, I think.
Oh, I don't even know. I didn't even pay attention. But they're doing a really good job, and they're talking about stuff that I didn't even know. Like there's a young girl in it, and the guy called her Chrissy, and I looked at Corbin, and I was like, wait, is that Chrissy Hind? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, there's parts of the story I didn't even know. So yeah, it's good. They're doing a good job. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. That is going to be so much fun.
Yeah. The Sex Pistols, guys. Watch it.
Yeah. Who plays the boys? Like who are the who's Johnny Rotten? Do we know?
They're British actors, and I don't know them by name, but the guy who plays the guy in their band who initially was the only one with any talent, me and Corbin were like, this guy's really familiar. He looks like a young John Lennon, and we realized he played Jerry Lee Lewis in this TV show, Sun Records. They had made a TV series out of the whole story of Sun Records, and he had played Jerry Lee Lewis. So obviously the guy is a musician. But that little I'm so bad with my actors. He was like a kid star. I think it may be Love Actually or something. He had the red curly hair. Like he plays their producer or whatever. And he was the same producer for the New York Dolls at the time. But anyway, yeah, I don't know any of these actors really. They're all young.
Did you ever see the Jerry Lee Lewis biopic, Great Balls of Fire, where Dennis Quaid plays Jerry Lee Lewis?
Kidding me? Like me and my mom watched that thing on a loop. My mom, because she loved Dennis Quaid and Jerry Lee Lewis. I love Winona Ryder, and I love Jerry Lee Lewis, and I love the story.
I don't think I've ever seen an actor have more fun playing
Oh,
anybody than watching Dennis Quaid play Jerry
how
Lee Lewis.
fun is it
Totally
to reach that
unhinged.
nut bar? Especially when he, sets the piano on fire and, bangs his 13-year-old cousin.
He does this big like freak out scene where he's just like, see this hand? It makes $10,000 a night. See this hand? It does too. I am Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh my God. And he really he leans into that accent and the egotistical. It's great. It's one of my favorite movies. And it's one of those that I can't seem to find on streaming anywhere. I wanted to watch it after we came back from Tennessee and, had just done, went to Memphis and went to his, like one of his restaurants. And then, we were all like wrapped up in that Elvis, Sun Records, all that stuff. And then we came home wanting to watch Great Balls of Fire and I couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, what, did they scrub it from streaming? Why can't I watch this?
Maybe Jerry Lee Lewis has been canceled for his various sins.
I don't know. I mean, they were third cousins twice removed. I remember that from the movie.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm defaming a guy, but I think Jerry Lee Lewis killed a dude.
Ooh.
I don't think I'm making that up.
Okay.
I think he either famously attempted to, or like if I'm not mistaken, like I think he stabbed somebody.
We should do a Jerry Lee Lewis episode then. There's a lot to this guy and Jimmy Swaggart, that connection. There's so much to Jerry Lee Lewis. I can't believe we haven't done that already.
Stay tuned. Jerry Lee Lewis episode coming up.
All right, what else we got on Frank Black?
One of my favorite things about the Pixies, this is a strange kind of story. When I was about 25 or 26, I was bartending in a restaurant. And like you do when you're the 25 or 26-year-old bartender, you're hanging out with the 18 and 19-year-old waitresses and all of their friends. So I went to a party after work and there's a whole bunch of people that I didn't know there. And it's, it's like somebody's parents' house or God knows what.
Oh, shit.
But there's people just strewn out all over the place and they're in the backyard and they're upstairs. And it's one of those, like young people kind of parties. And there's a cute young man there with an acoustic guitar who took a shine to one of the waitresses that I worked with. And he pulls her aside and he starts playing her this song that starts off with, "Hey, I've been trying to meet you." And he's doing like the cute boy Justin Bieber thing, like giving her a serenade. And she's just all a swoon, just eyes sparkling, just love, just absolutely in love. They spend, a couple hours talking to each other and they're exchange numbers and all that stuff. And it's a real romance. Well, I'm the older guy, so I'm driving everybody home. Like everybody loads into my car and I'm dropping everybody off at the end of the night. And she's in the back seat and she says, "I can't believe that he wrote that song just for me.
Oh,
I can't believe that and I had to tell her, just like, no, that's by Pixies." It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, so I put it on, like I had it on the iPod, I put it on and something in her died.
Good.
Like looking at her in the mirror and it was just like just the life went out of this poor girl's face. I was like, "I'm sorry. Maybe I should have just," in hindsight, I should have just said, "Yeah, he seems like a very nice."
He's very talented. When I said good, I didn't mean that I wanted her to hurt. It was so she can go back and tell him, "Hey, motherfucker." But maybe he's like, "Oh, I thought you knew."
Yeah, that's what it was. And also, from a dude's perspective, if it's working, it's working. Like, don't question it. Don't let anything get in the way of it.
Okay, she's dumb. I'm just gonna go with it.
I did feel really, really bad about it.
Oh. I mean,
Oh.
I'm a sucker for a musician. I always will be. But I would never assume someone was writing a song for me on the spot.
No. I don't know if that's what he told her, but I mean, obviously that's what he allowed her to believe.
Yeah. Oh, she was like in the back of your car with like hearts for pupils. Like, I'm in love. And then you're like, "I'm gonna squash that dream real quick right now."
Yeah.
You love Frank Black, actually. Wait till you see this picture.
Yeah. That's probably the other reason why Pixies never got like super really famous, is because they're just not photogenic.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like your dad, and he doesn't care that he looks like your dad.
Mhm. Kurt Cobain looks like an angel. Frank Black looks like he works at Foot Locker.
Yes.
He's a volunteer referee at your basketball game.
Yep. He's got like a little beer belly and everything. Totally. He looks like
Oh, it's
suburban dad.
interesting though. And I didn't know this, but he apparently rather famously got arrested in Dublin at a place called St. Stephen's Green, which I guess is like a big town square in Dublin. He was playing a show there in like 2004 or 2005. And he announced via whatever existed on the internet that he was just going to do a show on the bandstand in this park just by himself, just an acoustic show, just Frank Black and a guitar. And word catches fire, and you can see there's YouTube clips of this. Like there's hundreds and hundreds of people just absolutely mobbing him, all around, and he's just very sweetly just playing the guitar. You can't even, on the clips that I heard, you can't even hear him playing the guitar or hear him singing, but everybody in the crowd, hundreds of Irish voices are singing, songs like "Monkey Gone to Heaven" with it. It's just fantastic. It's just
that sounds wonderful.
So apparently he got arrested. I think I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe you do. Gardaí. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Garda, I guess.
Dublin Irish police force. But they showed up and they took him away in a car, and then they issued a statement hours later. It's like he was never arrested. It just became a public order thing. Like we just can't. The
you probably have to have a permit to do these things.
Sure, yeah, and it's still Dublin, so assembling a couple of hundred people all of a sudden is probably just like, that's a little dangerous.
Are they drinking? Okay, we probably should be doing this.
But it was like, and so Frank Black afterwards he goes, I don't know what it is. He goes, it's just something about the Irish culture. Like they just want to sing, they just want the Guinness. Like just the way that they reacted to that was just one of those special afternoons he's ever had. And it was like, you see those video clips, you're just like, this is what music can do. Like this
People
is how
want to have a good time. We do. We want to get together. That's why people who are like, I don't understand sports, I don't like sports, people who never played sports. I'm like, it's not about the fucking game. It's about being together with people and agreeing on something as a group for once.
Yes, it's the communal experience. Absolutely.
Yes, you don't understand what it's like. Like we watched Biggio's 3,000th home run, and my husband flew his entire body into the arms of a strange man. Like it's just that togetherness that we feel. Like I don't know what it is. Sometimes when we all cheer at the same time, when like a home run or a grand slam happens, my eyes start watering, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like I start crying. But it's that feeling of like we all are together and agree on something, and it's so refreshing, and that's why sports are great.
Yeah, I'm that way when the whole crowd is singing the song.
Yes.
Like that really, really gets me, and it gets the Canadian in Edmonton during the hockey playoff games. They'll sing the Canadian national anthem, but the person who comes out to sing it, the opera singer or the local talent show winner or whatever, only sings the first couple of lines, and then the microphone gets pulled up into the rafters, and 18,000 people all sing it together, and it's just the most moving thing. But I'm that way with like there's Oasis's live album, Familiar to Millions.
Yes.
When the crowd starts singing along to those songs and it's the English accent, like I really do. Oh, that's my tribe. Like my tribe is happy.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I'm looking at my notes here. They had all these little like one-liner artist facts, and one thing that I loved is that some of their shows they would play their songs in alphabetical order, and in others they would start with the encore and play backwards.
Yep. That's
I love that idea.
I was talking to Johnny Westling years ago. Johnny West had that great closer about the first time he had sex. So It's like a 5-minute bit. There's no reason to go into the whole thing in case you go see Johnny. He does the bit. It's fucking wonderful. But it ends on the biggest fucking smashing laugh. This is the best closer that anybody's ever written. So he was telling me like when he wanted to move on from that, like what he would do, he would start opening with that just to see if he could follow it. It was like, you have bigger balls than me, man.
Oh, that's great. Is that I haven't seen Johnny set in a long time, but does that lawn look mowed to you? Is that
Yep.
It's so good. Oh God, it's so good.
I couldn't imagine the fear of that. Just like, okay, I'm going to go up, I'm going to do what I know to be my absolute best. I'm going to perform it at my absolute best. And then I've got 20 more minutes to fill after that.
It's smart. You're going to be one of those comics that gets stuck in that rut that does the same jokes for 20 years if you don't do that. That's really smart of him to be like, challenge himself, like, this is my best. Can I do better now? That's
Mhm.
great. Good for John.
I wonder if he got that from the Pixies. Speaking of their influence, part of the reason why the last reason why I chose Wave of Mutilation is because of the influence that the Pixies have. Like you can hear it in so many. Obviously, you hear it in Nirvana. Obviously, like you hear it in Foo Fighters. You know, the slow, fast, the loud, quiet, all that sort of stuff. That Billy Corgan does it in Smashing Pumpkins quite a bit. Like obviously, I mean, it's a dramatic technique. You know, I don't think. And there's quotes from Frank Black where he's just like, I can't take credit for that. Like, you know, maybe I popularized it in this moment, but that's
Maybe I
not.
did it really well, better than other people. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't belong to me. You know, I'm not mad that anybody else is doing it. But listen to Wave of Mutilation, the album version, and then listen to All the Small Things by Blink 182.
Oh shit.
It's the same song. Like, I mean, the same song. Like, it's not, and I don't mean that as any, like I'm not trying to call out Blink 182, even though I don't particularly like those
I
guys.
can't stand them, so I'm all in.
I'm just saying, like their influence is so like if you didn't know, you know, like if I mean, there's a world where maybe I hadn't read certain issues of Rolling Stone or whatever. If I had heard All the Small Things, I'd be like, oh, it looks like the Pixies are back. Like it's that close to it.
Oh
Like
my
the
gosh,
guitar
I'm gonna
sound is
have
the
to listen
essence.
to
I
this.
don't like, you know me, I'm not a musician. I don't know if they're using the same guitars or they're using the same amps or what it is, but like it's the exact same guitar sound. It sounds like the same chord progression to me. And it's just like, it's holy crap. Like that is Wave of Mutilation.
I'm gonna have to go listen to that now because when I talk about why I don't like Blink 182 and why,
Mhm.
and you know, they're not punk. They're even labeled as pop punk.
Yeah.
They are a boy band who went to Hot Topic and put different clothes on and tattooed their skin. And my argument is always like, what about all the small things? What about that sounds like punk music to you? Go watch the Sex Pistols documentary and come back and explain to me what punk music is. I was like, why would you think that is punk music? Um,
So whiny, you know, and it's like it's the generations too, you know, like I was 14 or 13 or 14 when Dookie came out and Green Day set the world on fire, and I absolutely loved that album for a year until I found out from the punks that it was not at all cool to like Green Day.
no, no, it wasn't.
No, it was not. So it only follows that by the time Blink 182 came around a couple of years later, it was extra not cool to like them.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, stop calling it punk. Anybody can put on the outfit, but listen to what they're saying. What's their message? What do they sound like? That's not punk music. But, you know, then it goes back to that argument that I get in with people about the Ramones. Yes, they are a punk band. I'm never going to say they're not a punk band. I just don't like them and don't enjoy listening to it. And it hit me the other day in the car. I was driving and the Ramones were on, and I was like, I'm bored. That's what I don't like about it. The Ramones sound like pop music to me, and I'm bored. I don't like it.
Yeah, it makes me what's the right word? It makes me an outcast in certain circles. But the Ramones like greatest hits album is like 35 songs. Like it's a lot of songs. Of course, they're only all like a minute and a half or 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
But they only have one song. Like it's a great
Yes.
song, but like I can't imagine listening to all 35 of them in a row ever.
No, I don't like them. And that's a big punk thing too. And the Pixies, what I love about them is they do these short songs. Their songs are always very, very short. It's very, very rare that they have a song that's much over 3 minutes long. It's usually two and under, which is I'm a fan of.
Yeah, get it over with quick.
Yeah. Which reminds me, me and Corbin were talking about oh God, our conversation went everywhere yesterday. We started talking about how bad Aerosmith was in the 90s compared to how good they were when he was on drugs in the 70s. And
He's back on drugs. You want to celebrate?
and so we were talking, oh, that's what we were saying. We were saying it was their song from Armageddon that everybody loves, and that Corbin was like, that was their attempt at November Rain. Like that was gonna be their November Rain. And I was like, Corbin, I'm gonna say this and you're not gonna like it. I never loved November Rain. Like
Yeah.
I love Guns N' Roses, Patience, I love Welcome to the Jungle, I love, you know, Sweet Child of Mine, but Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, I was like, they're kind of losing me. I don't know if I like this anymore.
I don't know how that like people love Armageddon. Like I don't know why, because like emotionally it just doesn't like that love scene with Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler is just really you're gonna make out with her while her dad sings a love ballad. That's real weird. I don't understand how the director could have made that decision.
I know, where he's like got his tongue in her mouth and like, that's your dad. I don't think they're listening to it as they're doing the scene. I think that's in
Oh,
post.
but the audience is like,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can think of. I've only seen that movie once because that scene was just like, oh god.
That movie's so hokey. And people like this comes from a conversation I saw on Twitter. Somebody was watching the movie and then the song came on. They're like, I love this movie and I love the song. And I'm like, what? That's so stupid. The song is bad. The movie's dumb. How can you get emotional at that? Maybe I just don't have a heart, but I just thought that movie was so stupid.
It definitely has like female appeal. I mean, you've got peak sexy Ben Affleck with this is sweaty, unshaven, and then
Never liked Ben Affleck. Never got it. Don't understand the appeal. Not even in Chasing Amy, which is where I should have gotten drawn in. I was all Jason Lee.
But then at the end, Dad saves the world, and in so doing, returns your true love to you. So it's like it's definitely. They're definitely doing the best they can to bring in the ladies for that one. It's like the beach volleyball scene in Top Gun.
You're bringing in the ladies for that one. Are you gonna go see the new Top Gun, or have you already?
Already seen it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I really want to know how much like speeding tickets have got to be just like through the roof in America since the release of the new Top Gun. Because like as soon as I got the car, I was just like, I am a jet pilot.
Yeah, Joe Cowan went to go see it, and he said like people brought props into the movie theater, like there were volleyballs, like people were ready for it.
It's weird. I don't like particularly like Tom Cruise, but I'm fascinated by Tom Cruise.
Oh, how could you not?
By his longevity, like it's like we're talking about like Risky Business is his first big hit in 1983. That's what's the quick math? That's 40 years ago now. Like he's going to release a Mission Impossible movie in 2023, so he will have been one of the biggest movie stars in the world for 40 years. He doesn't look a day older than when we first met him. And he is the head of some kind of bizarre religious cult. He's just hiding in plain sight. Like he's really something out of an Elmore novel.
And does his own stunts, crazy stunts, and doesn't die. Yeah.
I love it. I was reading on the Instagram page of the guy who wrote, I forgot his name, the guy who writes Community, Dan Harmon. A couple of years ago, when during the pandemic, when the Tom Cruise viral audio came out of him yelling at the crew for not observing COVID regulations about how the whole industry is on the line watching us. Do I make myself clear? Do you understand? That kind of like real intensity. Dan Harmon wrote, "This is maybe the 9th or 10th time the internet has tried to make me hate Tom Cruise, and it's just not going to work."
He gets a pass.
The guy makes strong eye contact. He remembers your name. He meets you. 7 days later, you get a thoughtful gift. No, I'm always going to be on board with him.
You always wanted like not like him, like not even just the Scientology stuff, but like when you watch Tropic Thunder and they show the outtakes of him dancing and stuff, you're like, oh, it's just enjoyable. I'm sorry.
He just seems like lots of fun.
Oh no, crazy, but crazy fun, for sure.
Tom, if you're listening, let's get Frank Black on the Mission Impossible soundtrack. All right.
Oh, that would be great. What are the Pixies doing now? Are they done? Are they done, skis?
They've broken up and gotten back together and broken up, and now they're back together with a different lineup. Frank Black and Kim Deal sort of famously did not get along, creative differences.
Okay.
Frank Black wants to write all the songs. Kim Deal wants to write all the songs, but it's Frank's band, so. I think he had a couple of weird breakups. And when they broke up for the first time in like 94, the rest of the band found out because Frank Black was giving an interview to the BBC radio. And he said, yeah, the Pixies are no more. He hadn't told anybody. And he's like the director, so he's in charge. Like he literally, he's friends with Santiago, the guitarist. So he called him and said, yeah, I just said on the radio that the Pixies are done. And then he faxed the other members of the band, including Kim Deal, to tell them that the Pixies are done.
I'd be a little peeved.
Get back together, but the only reason they got back together is because he's on the radio, and they're asking like, "Are Pixies ever going to get back together?" And he made some joke about how, "Oh yeah, we're going to get together. We're going to tour, next year or whatever it was." And he's just like teasing somehow. I don't know what the exact words were, but apparently he was obviously joking. but the radio interviewer just like aired it as if they were very serious. And once the other members of the band heard, like it just hit the news wires, just like Pixies are getting back together. So now he's like fielding calls from band members, just like, well, I hadn't intended to, but do you guys want it?
Yeah.
So
You're like,
they got back to other idiots.
I didn't know he had a very Paul Odo quote in here about his favorite hobby is painting. Did you see that? Like what he said about it is funny. He's like, I don't have to answer to anyone. I can do it for hours and hours. I can listen to music or not listen to music. I can be alone. I can do it all day, every day. If this music thing doesn't pan out, or if I take a sabbatical, I would totally just do painting.
Good for him. Good for him.
That's very nice. And another just like fun fact is Santiago selected the word pixies randomly from a dictionary. He liked its definition of mischievous little elves.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start a band, Mischievous Little Elves.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna play music heavily influenced by Nirvana.
There you go. Heavily influenced by the Pixies and by Nirvana and by that guy that the Pixies was influenced by. Yeah.
Well, I think we just did Wave of Mutilation by the Pixies.
All right. It was a lot longer episode than I thought it was going to be because I was like, Ben, this song is like 5 lyrics. How are we going to get through this?
The song is just 6 words long.
All right. Well, next week is my turn to pick. And and Jeremy, I think, is going to be back next week. So we'll be back to 6 Degrees of Tinted Windows next week. He's had a nice little sabbatical and said he misses us. So we miss you too, Jeremy, and excited to see you. And next week, it's always so stress inducing when it's your turn to pick a song because you're just like, I can't even think of one. And then you overthink and overthink. And then I was out at my pool, and when I'm swimming in the pool outside, I never know what music to put on. I want music. And then I always go back to the same thing. I go to just 80s. I just want some 80s music when I'm in the pool. Everybody knows all the songs. We're all singing. And Africa by Toto came on.
Yes.
That song has had such a resurgence of love from everybody because it just makes you feel good. And then I pulled up the lyrics and I was like, oh, these are lyrics worth diving into as well. It's very good. So, and then I think there's a cool story. I think like 2 of the guys everyone's dead in the band. So yeah, I was like, all right, this is a good choice. We're gonna do some Africa by Toto next week.
Deal. Sold.
Him deal. Gotcha. All right. See you guys next week.
Stay safe out there. Oh.
You think I'm dead, but I sail away on a wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave of mutilation, wave.
1, 2, 3.
Rock the Cash Bar is produced by Diane Gallagher, music by Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins. Special thank you to Jeremy Essig for 6 Degrees and to Sarah Wessling for the Guilty Pleasures vocals. Our website is rockthecashbarpodcast.com, and there you can find links to our Spotify playlist and to our Patreon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.